Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I appreciate your time. Thank you for watching. The sponsor of today's video is the USCCA. The USCCA has a ton of education and training for their members online. You can take live classes. You can go from very beginner, just bought your firearm, all the way up to becoming a firearms instructor with them. I've taken a lot of their training in person, and I will tell you that I highly recommend their training. It is built well, it is understandable, and it is easily digestible. And if you want to become a member, you'll also get self-defense liability insurance. Check them out down below at uscca.com/GNG. They are a big sponsor of this channel. They're a friend of myself and my family, and that means a lot. It's what I use for my family, and it could be what you should use for yours as well. Check them out down below, uscca.com/GNG. All right, I want to talk about a victory in the United States Supreme Court yesterday out of the state of Massachusetts. This is a case that those of us who live in the state have been watching for years, and the case is called Morin v. Liver. Liver is chief of police in Northborough, Massachusetts for this case, and Mr. Alfred Morin got into a jam doing the right thing. What do I mean? Well, this is one of those reasons USCCA members have a jump, because they have reciprocity maps, so you'll know where your permit, your license to carry, if your state issues them still. Half of them don't. Well, half of them don't require it. But you'll know where you can carry within this great country and not run into a jam because, rights change over imaginary dotted lines on a map here. So Mr. Morin was down in Washington, D.C., and he went to the American Museum for Natural History. It's the same one that I was at not long ago with Eric and Chad of Iraq Veteran 8888. Awesome place to see. But one thing you'll notice if you've ever been to DC is the amount of anti-freedom signs. It's like walking into Berlin, Germany back in the day. There's signs everywhere. I've been to this museum, the signs out front, no guns allowed, no pistols, no nothing. And Mr. Morin, who had a license to carry in Massachusetts, which is different, and I'm saying this because in this case, as I reference it, if you read the case, it references a couple different things that actually aren't correct, which is weird. So it references an FID card. It's a firearms identification card. That's what this state requires for shotguns and rifles for like hunting and stuff like that, and also possession of pepper spray. A license to carry, or an LTC, is for pistols, specifically to carry them, to conceal carry your firearms, or back in the day before Bruin, the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin decision out of the Supreme Court, Massachusetts had restrictions and you couldn't carry. You could only take it to sporting and Target and stuff like that. And then this case references a permit to purchase in Massachusetts, which we do not have. The fact that you have an LTC or the FID allows you to purchase firearms. So it was a little convoluted if you've read it for the first time. But the facts remain. Mr. Morin went to DC, saw this sign at the museum, and inquired with one of the guards to check his firearm, because the sign said I can't bring him in. Well, I'm lawfully carrying because I have a Massachusetts license to carry. They should be able to check my gun. Really? No, they locked him up. America, freedom in the home, the capital of freedom, arrested for exercising your rights. He was charged with three violations of District of Columbia code. The first one, I had to write them down because it's been a while in this case. Carrying a pistol without a license, possession of an unregistered firearm, and unlawful possession of ammunition. In November of 2008, Morin pleaded guilty to two misdemeanors, not felonies. That's important. The first one was attempting to carry a pistol without a license in violation of DC law or DC code. And the second was possession of an unregistered firearm, meaning it wasn't registered with the DC Gestapo. Now, the max fines he could have received for the crimes that he pleaded guilty for were $1,000 each fine on each one. And the first one, the attempted carrying, was a 60-day imprisonment, which was suspended. And the second one, possession of ammunition, was up to 1 year imprisonment. Again, those were suspended. He was given 3 months of a suspended supervised probation as well as 20 hours of community service. So those were misdemeanors, and we do not lose our rights in this country over misdemeanors unless it comes around the Second Amendment, because the anti-gunners, the gun controllers, they want us disarmed for reasons. So when he went home, Morin reapplied to renew his license to carry. It's only good for, it says 6 years, but depending on when your birthday falls and when you get the actual card, it's 5.5 years. And in February of 2008, Morin submitted his renewal application for his license to carry with the Northborough Police Department. And Chief Leahy, the way Massachusetts does it is the chief of police is the licensing authority. He denied the renewal because of these 2 misdemeanor violations or convictions, but because they involved firearms in Massachusetts, you are then prohibited from purchasing firearms ever again. Now, more than 10 years later, in 2018, Morin again applied for his license to carry firearms. And again, Chief Leahy, still the chief of police in Northborough, denied his application because of his 2 firearms-related convictions, even though they were misdemeanors. Well, Morin appealed, and throughout the appeals process, it got crazy in Massachusetts as far as the law. The law here is convoluted at best. There's law on top of law, and they just keep stacking them to try to keep further infringing, government me harder, daddy. And one of the things that came up in the appeals process was that Morin had an FID card as well. Now, in Massachusetts, you can have both. In fact, many people here in the state get an FID card first because they're hunters or they own a shotgun. Just get a shotgun. And then when you become 21, that is the age at which you are then allowed to apply for an LTC. You can't carry a pistol in Massachusetts, a handgun, unless you're 21 or over. So long story short, because he had an FID card and his LTC was denied, the courts came to this weird conclusion using intermediate scrutiny, which is now post-Bruin unconstitutional, which is part of the reason this was decided, well, kind of. But because he could possess a gun in the home with the FID card, they said that the courts in Massachusetts said that it's not a ban. He still gets a Second Amendment. He just can't leave his house with it because he doesn't have an LTC. Well, that's where the Supreme Court said, really? First off, intermediate scrutiny is wrong. Post-Bruin, it's actually unconstitutional. And second, Heller said the Second Amendment was an individual right. Bruin also said that it included outside the home, where Heller basically was inside the home. Bruin said it's your individual right to carry outside the home. So Massachusetts' laws and this case violated all of that. He couldn't take it outside of his home, which was in violation of Bruin, and lost his rights because of 2 misdemeanors. So can you possess a gun and not purchase one? So Massachusetts again said his rights weren't violated because people could give him a gun. People could just leave one for him, which would get that owner in a jam eventually anyway in Massachusetts. So the Supreme Court granted a certiorari, meaning they're taking the case up. They vacated the decision of the First Circuit, and they remanded it back down to the First, saying, redecide this case in light of our New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin decision. So this could actually do some good here for the Second Amendment in a couple things, if depending on, again, how far-reaching this ends up going. I think that it's going to, well, it's Massachusetts. It's not going to go easy, but it should rectify the fact that you don't lose your rights for a misdemeanor, and they can't use intermediate scrutiny. That's going to be the big win. And then potentially this case could lead into reciprocity, because if you're licensed, if you have a right in one state, why doesn't it reach to another? So we'll have to see what happens here. I will keep you up to date with this case. Sorry, it's a long discussion, long description, because the way if you don't understand the laws of Massachusetts and you're trying to advise people about this case, you're not really going to understand it, or it might sound incorrect. So I wanted to get it out there. Today, I'm going to Blackout Coffee. We're going to help some folks, going to try to get your orders out because we're back and running. And thank you for everybody. Really, thank you for supporting this endeavor. Thank you for supporting this company. I'm a part owner of Blackout Coffee. It's blackoutcoffee.com/GNG. And, if you interested in buying coffee, you can get anything in our store right now, 20% off with code Ian, referencing that hurricane, obviously. So, till we see each other again, be safe, stay vigilant, carry a gun to keep you, your friends, your family, your community safe. I'll see you on the next one, y'all. Take care.